I used to use total gyms, and I invented an unweighting machine so that when I had injured athletes, I could decompress their spine. I could take the load off their neck, their back, their joints. So I had unweighting machines that I built over an
and you
upper
worked them
body.
out, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. I had an upper body ergometer under one. I had a
Mm-hmm.
treadmill under one. And then I would also use swimming pools to get athletes into the water so that they could train and keep their body fit and load the body. Because just like you said, a lot of them get injured and they just stop, but then they
Yeah.
take forever to get back because you can't get them up to pre-adequate levels for competition without a long buildup, because you can't just do that overnight. And I
Yeah.
was forever having to rehab people that would go through, say, therapy for a disc or a meniscal tear. And then they would go right from pure rehab right back to football practice. And the next thing you know, they've blown it again.
Yeah.
And so I found that by using unweighted exercise and hydrotherapy type exercise and cold water therapies, you could really accelerate the return. But with what you're talking about with blood flow restriction, I could take that to a whole new level of holy shit, hallelujah, let's get it on.
Well, you were using the technology you had then to manipulate growth hormone. You were keeping athletes who were injured in an anabolic state. You weren't letting, because if they go cortisol, they're going to atrophy and decondition.
Yeah.
So you were at the forefront of using the technology you had. Now you can use BFR, or just use BFR and put it on the arm. And studies show that if I just work my arms, the quad won't atrophy. Let me tell you Dr. Sato's story of how his breakthrough. He has a skiing accident. He tears ligaments in his knee, and he fractures 2 fractures in his lower leg, ankle area, the tibia and the talus. So put a full body cast on him, and he postulates, this was 7 years after his epiphany of kneeling down. He postulates, well, maybe if I put a judo belt above the cast and he just does exercises. His goal is to stop the atrophy.
Right.
So he's trying to create a local prevention, a local change in muscle, prevent it. So they take the cast off at 6 weeks. Why? Because the leg atrophies and the cast starts slipping. You got to put a new one on. Well, his wasn't slipping. They take it off at 6 weeks. He had no atrophy of his quad. And then the x-ray and the ligaments and bone had healed. And he figured out, I'm creating a local muscle physical change and a full body systemic growth hormone change.
Yes.
That was his massive breakthrough, that he figured out, oh, I can go treat bone density. I can treat brain degeneration. I can treat, there's a study on 103 people with chronic kidney disease. Mm-hmm. The group that did BFR had an attenuation or a stopping of the progression of the kidney disease, right? So this growth hormone nitric oxide system, right, that you turn on,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful technology. I'm really glad Kyle turned me on to, because I like to bring people things that can really enhance their life in meaningful ways. You know, I'm not a gadget guy. I'm not a guy that likes to show shit to people. And there's too much of that out there as it is. And, you know, I'm not a big biohacking guy at all either, because I believe people overlook foundation principles. But really what you're teaching is foundation principles. It's just using the science of human physiology in a way that is intelligent and more effective, that it took an injured doctor to pay attention to give us the gift, you know?